So the next bit, there's a few Grimoire pieces on this. Is going to be Grimoire from the Taken King expansion.
Ooh.
The first bit, this is very important because this is where a lot of my theories came from. I was telling you about earlier today. Uh,
Alright.
this one is Kagor. When I made my court, I said, "Look, I am an emancipator. I am a truth-teller. I must make room in my court for joy. Raising great tribute, I took counsel with my vanquisher worm. It spoke to me. It was the speech of truth. It ate me. It was the pact I made. It showed me a shape. It was the correct shape of joy. Saying, this is the shape of joy, O ruler mine." Okay, so there's more to this, but just this first paragraph is a very important paragraph.
Because of the way it ends.
Yes. So, I guess this would be Kagor talking, but,
Mm,
but yes, it says, "Oh, ruler mine," which means this was an Ahamkara. However, if you read, however, up there it said, "Raising great tribute, I took tower with my vanquisher worm," meaning they believed they were speaking with a worm god rather than an Ahamkara.
oh, okay. Okay, so when they were seeking out a worm god, it's possible that it was actually an Ahamkara. Well,
Yes.
oh, okay, okay. Makes
Come
sense.
forth, Kagor, and be created into my court. Speak of your sport. I compel it. I will compare it to this shape. Saith Kagor, Whirlwinder, who split all moons. My joy is mastery and dominion. It is the joy of rule. Saith Kagor, I compel the loyalty of all new flesh, huge and furious in its hunger, that which may not otherwise be commanded. My death is hidden in this sport. I render my decision against her, Azorix, geometer of shapes. It was decided on the taste of her tribute, upon the shape of her sport. Saith Crota, my son, I will raise new flesh that even Kagor cannot rule. In this way, I will expand their might. That is the court of my court, O Yul. Listen to it carefully. It is my claim. Okay, so I take back what I said about this being Kagor speaking. It seems that this was actually Oryx talking.
Yes. And that's mainly shown because he talked about Kurta, his son, and
Yes.
brought that up too. Now, if I had to guess, that's actually a verse from the Book of Stars, ain't it? Or
Um,
no, wait.
I'm not sure if this actually will say it. This is just a Grimoire card.
Okay, no, wait. Then it wouldn't be.
Yeah. Uh, but I mostly want to focus on uh, now, Oryx is the Taken King, right?
That is correct.
Who got his power from a worm god.
Yes.
And he's speaking of the worm god, who said, "Oh, ruler mine." So what I believe is that Crota actually, or that Oryx actually
Kurta?
got his power from the Ahamkara.
It would make sense.
Now, I was thinking about this earlier because you once presented me a theory a few days ago, that the Ahamkara and the worm gods in the hive were all connected.
That is correct.
So, what I was thinking is, what if the worm gods don't actually exist? What if this whole time it was the Ahamkara?
Oh. Because
Now,
that's
yeah,
what they desire to find.
yeah. Now, yes, you can say we already fought a worm god, but what was its name? Zol,
His name was
Will
Zol.
of 1,000. And we've
Exactly.
also faced an Ahamkara with the name 1,000, Riven of 1,000
Which was
Voices, which would connect Riven
exactly.
and Zol together. And what it got me thinking is, I was thinking that we discussed like this a long time ago, how Zol should have been a raid. But what if that was actually the true design? They wanted it to be a strike because it was actually an illusion created by Riven to try to stop us. Or maybe not stop us, but do whatever Zol was doing. I forget exactly what Zol was trying to accomplish.
I don't know. I know the dude was frozen on Mars for a while.
Yeah, or at least that's what we're told to believe, is that he was set free. Now, if this was actually an illusion created by Riven, it would also make sense, because what were its weak points during that encounter? It was its mouth and the, things on its side, such as Riven spoils on its side as we were going down to the chambers.
Correct.
And not to mention, at the end of that strike, Zol also disappears. There's no corpse left behind, it just disappears. So that's where my theory comes in, that it's possible that we were actually fighting an illusion this whole time.
That's actually very true. Because when we killed Riven, a body stayed behind, obviously, because we ripped out her heart.
Yes. Yes.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, so, now what we know of the Worm Gods are that there was 5 of them. Obviously, now that Zol is dead, there's 4 Worm Gods left.
Right.
From what we've been told, from what we've come to believe. Now I'm not sure if the others are gonna say like Hunger of 1,000 and stuff like that. If possibly this whole time Riven was in control of the Hive, because we know that Riven and the Taken were somewhat working together. I'm not sure if Riven was actually fully taken and if it was like an Orc situation or not.
Well, that's very true.
Because most Taken, we see that they are clearly taken. However, in cases like Oryx, they retain their form because they were so powerful. Sure. And obviously, an Ahamkara is going to be more powerful than Oryx, even with the help of a Worm God.
Right. I mean, God, look at Riven. Look at all the things she's done.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just one of my theories, that the Hive was actually being controlled by Riven or possibly other Ahamkara.
Okay. And this had been happening for a while, because I was on Destiny yesterday, running around a Dreadnought, doing the whole Final Story mission with Oryx. And what's interesting is that I've decided to rescan basically the little tablet that you read. It says it's Oryx. And what it stated was that it was made years before Earth was created. So
yeah,
basically,
so before Earth was created, that is interesting, because we know that the Ahamkara didn't rise until after Venus was terraformed.
Exactly.
So Earth would have already existed, as well as Venus, because Venus was around, obviously, before the Traveler, and was one of the main planets.
Right.
So maybe there's a few... So obviously, with many theories, there's a few holes in it, because we also know that Worm Gods are almost as old as Darkness itself. I believe I read somewhere that they were they're the second in command, at least, to the Hive, right below the Darkness in their hierarchy.
The Hive in there.
So maybe the So maybe worm gods did exist, but perhaps the Ahamkara took control of them eventually.
Possible. Definitely possible. Like, like after the Traveler came, they... Is that... what? Because... Ah, works. Because definitely when the Traveler came, the darkness followed. Because that's the Traveler, and you know, dark versus light, enemies of time. So
Yes.
it's possible that once the Ahamkara came, obviously they saw like the things of the hive, they saw an opportunity, then they started to mimic like worm gods and stuff. Basically kinda like take control. Kinda like all that stuff. Doesn't all get connected with the hive. Because obviously, as we've known, and what I've kind of put together, is that basically Whisper of the Worm, I'm taking this into consideration. Whisper of the Worm. Interesting. You think, oh, that's Zol's weapon, because basically it talks about a worm.
Yes.
But no. Yes. But no. Here's what I say, it's actually talking about Ahamkara. Or first of all, you can go to cliche route and say, oh, there's a dragon on the barrel of the gun, so it's probably more of a Ahamkara's way. But here's one thing that's stated in many lore cards and things. When an Ahamkara dies and the bones remain, many guardians talk about hearing whispers from the bones.
Yes, just like how the Warlock was compelled to send that hunter out to seek out an Ahamkara.
Yep. Now the thing is, they hear these whispers. Now you never hear, like, well, I'm not 100% sure about this, but you never heard, like, hive worm gods, like, whispering secrets to the hive.
Right.
Which leads me to believe that there's something more to connect the hive to the Ahamkara.
Yes, well, I actually looked into Whisper of the Worm today myself to find that, and what I found was quite interesting, and went hand in hand with the theory I presented. It said, that Zol was put into this weapon, that Zol was formed from this this weapon was formed from Zol, and that every time the player gets a kill with it, it's giving a sacrifice to the Worm God. However, if Zol maybe perhaps isn't connected to Riven, maybe perhaps isn't an illusion, but was actually a weakened Ahamkara that we came face to face with, and became that weapon.
Yeah? I can see that.
Yeah, so
I can
that's
see that.
maybe another thing, because we know that Ahamkara were hunted, some were weakened. Riven was definitely weakened and imprisoned. So I'm sure if we fought Ahamkara at their best, it would have been a much more difficult fight than Riven. Especially considering it was the taken boils on her that we had to destroy in order to weaken her.
Oh, definitely. That's a definite.
But I do find it interesting that, I'm not sure if it was a lore piece, if it was a wiki created by a fan or not. I forget, I believe it was just on a Destiny wiki, but, still, it's interesting to think about that if a player gets a kill with, Whisper, it's actually helping the Hive.
That's kind of scary to think about. Because no doubt plenty of people have gotten kills with Whisper. Boy.
Yeah, and it makes you...
sacrifices have to be made.
Yeah, and since, if Zol really did turn into this weapon, it makes you wonder, will Zol rise again? Perhaps we will get the Zol raid that we wanted out of that expansion.
Right. But what's interesting to me is that Zol's not there in the Whisper encounter. Which we're going to this, by the way.
Yes.
But you hear his voice. There's no sign of him anywhere.
Yeah, you hear his voice, just like you would hear an Ahamkara's voice, without a sign of them anywhere.
Exactly. Which which is interesting enough because if you connect it together, then you have Whisper the Worm, which makes me think that this is a fragment or something made by Zol. That's basically his. He's able to talk through, kind of like an Ahamkara with its bones.
Yeah. I would like to read this next part because it's actually from the Taken King expansion, and it's called 5, or verse 1, 5, Needle and Worm.
Woo! This is a Book of Sorrows.
Oh, was it? Okay, so all of the verse ones are from Book of Sorrows?
Yes. Anything that's
Okay.
like a verse is from the Book of
Yeah,
Sorrows.
I believe there's 5 speaking on the Ahamkara. So, here's the first one. My secrets, carved in my code by Sathona, the right eye vengeance. One. Hold on. One. This year of wild voyaging, these lightning nights and golden days, these forays into ancient wrecks, and wind-blown flights from monsters, these are the happiest times of my life. I want to be a mother, not because I want to spawn, but because I want to not because I want to spawn, but because I want a long life, long enough to make a difference. We have been at sea a year, and I am afraid what we will die out here. I know where to find secrets. I know where vast, slow things with long memories live. The Needle Ship. The Needle Ship, carved in my code by Sethona, a liar. We salvaged the needle from the Shavubi maelstrom. I knew it would not. I knew it would be there. I knew it would be there. 2. The needle is a gray ship, as long and slender as hope and unbreakable as time and old. Older than death. It tumbled through the maelstrom before our ancestors crashed into the fundament. This is not a sea ship like Arashis. It is an artifact of high technology. 3. I know its purpose. I know what happened to the crew. 4. Zero wants to sell the ship at Karan Atoll, where species gather. At auction, it would earn us enough wealth to hire mercenaries. We could retake our osmium court and send the baby, eating helium drinkers, screaming into the ocean. 5. I told Zero the ship was worthless. 6. Erish wants to open the ship and see if we can take command of it. I know this is the right thing to do. I knew because I asked the worm. The worm, carved in my code by Sethona, who should be afraid. 1. It was my father's family. I ripped it from him as we fled. It is a dead white thing, segmented, washed up from the Dead Sea. 2. It's dead, but it still speaks to me. It says, listen closely, O vengeance mine.
Hold on.
So, once again, it's really just this last part of the verse. It's connecting both the worm to an
1 second.
Ahamkara.
I was
Okay.
connecting. Oh, okay.
Oh, you just re-listen to the stream or something. Ethan. Oh, party chat is connected. Hold on. One moment. Yeah, sorry. I actually checked. I was the one that got disconnected. Alright,
Oh no,
so,
that's fine. But no, I
uh,
was just listening back to that. That is interesting.
Yeah, once again we get the worm connected to an Ahamkara.
Means no victory. Take them and crush your enemies.
So it's even going farther seeing that Ahamkara and worms are connected in some way.
Yep. Which that leads more into my theory about that.
Yeah, you also said the Hive, Ahamkara, and Taken were connected, and this, as you said, is a verse from the Book of Sorrows
That
that
is correct.
came out during the Taken King.
Also very correct.
Anything more to add on this?
Um, I don't know, because that's basically the events of the Book of Sorrow. I think it's not until like the third or fourth verse that they actually find like
Oh,
our
this is the last
galaxy
Crucible
and Earth
match.
and stuff. Okay, cool. Like it's a while before they get to Earth,
Zona 1
so
is yours.
either we, either the, okay, I'm trying to put it into words. Um, Either the worms are like directly connected to the Ahamkara, but our Ahamkara have actually been around longer than we think they've been. As they, as for
That
all we
is
know, they could
true.
have been. For all we know, they could have been in the same universe as the Hive, because the Hive aren't from this universe. Obviously they're from another universe.
Or perhaps we know Ahamkara to be shapeshifters. Perhaps they've been around this whole time in disguise, hiding.
Zona
Right.
B captured. You have
It
Zona
was only
1.
until that whole incident on Venus that we actually thought, oh, maybe they came after the whole Venus thing.
Yeah, because that's when the first Ahamkara was spotted in their true form.
Exactly. Which this is interesting. This is really interesting because this ties in more to like the Hive having connections to Ahamkara this entire time. Again, this is all theories,
That's a power play.
so whether or not they're true, we're not sure. But
Zone
it
C is yours.
definitely is like something that you can think about. What you thinking, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely true.
All right, so moving on from the whole take like worm god thing. What's the next thing that you want to bring up?
Um, it's actually, more from the Book of Sorrow. Anyway,
Oh, okay, cool.
next is verse 1-8, Leviathan.
5 minutes.
The Leviathan's warning. We live on the edge of war, a war between formless and form, between the deep and the sky. My eyes are wide, my gaze is long, across the universe as far as I see. The sky works to charge its fires, and the deep drowns the ash. Sky builds gentle places, safe for life. Beloved fundament, refuge of trillions. The sky treasures this rich place, but the deep is here with us. Cold logic tests our walls. The deep claims its dominion, a ruthless final age. Erasmus protest. Old Leviathan, creature of myth, this world is no refuge. We live short, hard lives.
Stay strong.
We die in the dark. The storm above us will never end, and soon the god wave will take us all. Above us there are only storm joys, monsters, and moons of apocalypse. Let us go down, down where we may discover truth. Some people to avenge ourselves upon our betrayers. Some hope survival. The Leviathan's hope. What power calls you? Down to the deep. What instinct draws you? Away from high hope. Quick breeding, quill people, I tell you. For eons I have watched your struggle, clinging to the sharp edge of survival, balanced between the deep and the sky. You were my treasure, my proof against despair. For this is the deep claim. Existence is the struggle to exist. When the struggle seems lost, when the safe place crumbles, everything turns to the deep to survive. I reject the
Zone
deep
B
claim. You will turn back, sweet krill of hope. You will choose the sky instead. Zero's protest. You are huge and old. Our lives are short and desperate. If that's the way the world's supposed to be, I have it. I won't have it. If people like Taos are supposed to win, I won't let them. I'll beat the world until it changes. I'll kill anything in the way. The Leviathan stirred. The fatal logic. Hear my monopole scream. It will consume you. Before you lies the worship of death. The ruinous path. The sky builds new life against the onset of ruin towards a gentle world. The deep embrace death, saying this is inevitable and right. I exist as hungry ruin. Turn back from the world of Turn back from the world-killing way, or you will live as death and devastation. The sky is the harder way, but it is kinder. My charge is balanced, my voice exhausted. Sathona's protest. Sisters, I have my father's familiar. Look, it answers me in plain words. It helped me find the ship. It gives me strength when hope is lost. Who will you trust? The voice that wants us to live and suffer as we have and suffered? The Leviathan that offers no hope against Taos or the world wave? Or the plain honest worm? Let us see where its worshipper leads us, Arash. Arash, let us go deeper, Zero. Let us dive, O sisters mine.
Hmm. And there it goes again.
Yeah, but that time it was actually, Sathona speaking, as if she had been fully taken over by the bone, and the Ahamkara was actually in charge.
Extremely interesting. Really makes you think. Like, how much has the Ahamkara actually influenced? Like, like how much have they influenced the Hive? How much have they influenced the Vex possibly? Because who knows? They could have been taking like Vex minds and like communicating with them. Oh, and how much have they like controlled possibly the Cabal, the Fallen, and heck the Guardians?
Well, we've
Well,
definitely seen control over Guardians.
definitely. But again, we don't know if like what they've been doing, what they've been. A lot of things we don't know what they've done or how they've done this.
Yes.
A lot to think about.
There's still two more Grimoire cards from the, Book of Sorrows, and that will... no, there's, three more Grimoire cards, two more from the Book of Sorrows. The next one,
Alright.
make sure I got these in correct order. Verse 5-3, I shut them all in cells. Pray and sacrifice, uttered by Zivu Aerith, god of war. Harmony. When the traveler passed across Harmony, it lied to the orbits of 10 worlds. Now they orbit the black hole. The traveler lied to the eccentric... Oh. Accretion disk, so that it would give warm light to these worlds. The gift mast. When the traveler left Harmony, it made a monument of the black hole's polar jet. In the jet there is a hollow mast which shines in radiance. This is the gift mast, and we will devour it. We will eat the sky out of it. We will snap it like a bone. The Harmony sting. The Harmony have weaponized their dead star. They can stimulate the accretion disk to fire relativistic plasma jets. We will take the sting. We will use it to burn their worlds. I will grant one temple of tribute to the first ascendant to kill a world. Oryx. I will have the gift mast to feed on. I will have it first. I am Sivu Aerith, and all war is my temple. Beware the daughters of Oryx, for they make and unmake with ease. Savathun, the deceitful sister, will be distracted by Arcana and the song of the black hole. Treat her broods with contempt. The traveler, we chase it and we will devour it. The deep will rule the cosmos. The dragons, our gods should be ours alone. Their smug freedom is an insult to me. I'd shut them all in cells. Bring them to me.
Now that's interesting. 'Cause that brings up the word dragons.
Yes. And the only dragons we associate things with in Destiny lore is Ahamkara, yeah. Let me send you an invite to the game.
That is extremely interesting. As that this is obviously proving that obviously the traveler isn't on Earth.
Yes.
Obviously the traveler is around. So that means that the Ahamkara have been around longer than we thought they've been. Before the formalization of Venus. Before the traveler got to Earth. They've been around, and they've been traveling with the Hive.
Yes. And he even mentioned them as their gods, and the only hive gods we know are the worm gods.
Exactly.
So, this is more proving the point of the Ahamkara are actually the worm gods of the hive.
Now here's what's interesting though. Here's what's making me think. Did they know? Like, did the Ahamkara know? Especially Riven, that we'd go in and basically kill them. No, wait. That makes sense now.
What?
If you think about it, that's exactly what she wanted us to do. As soon as we killed her and purified her heart, what did it do?
It corrupted the Dreaming City.
Exactly.
Which I also
So
find interesting because it also connects the Taken to the hive, considering Riven was also with the with the Taken as well.
Exactly.
And not to mention, Oryx and many other hive chose to become Taken, from what I understand. Is that correct?
That's correct. They chose this. They wanted this.
So it seems as though the Taken are actually working for the hive.
Eververse isn't just a title. It's family philosophy.
And it's possible that they've like turned against like the gods because they're gonna be drawn to stuff. They're gonna be wanting to like be able to get out there, find ways to consume the light.
Mm-hmm. Although this may be what the Ahamkara wants, is the consumption of light.
And Riven probably only knew this to do this was probably to get the Taken to take her over and take over the Dreaming City.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only assuming.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting and and has definitely seems to be some truth behind it.
Exactly. They didn't think about it. Obviously, the Tangled Shore and Dreaming City, the Reef in general, they're a part of this system. If I can think about it correctly, I believe that's past like the asteroid belt, which would make sense. And that means that the Taken don't have that much. Don't have that. Like, they don't have. Oh no, there's Saturn and Io. That means that they basically took an entire city. Like, well, I know they've taken entire worlds, but they've taken an entire city that's close to the Traveler.
You, Guardian.
Now I know they're fighting to repel the Taken, but it's like it's like
Guardian.
each week it's the same thing. It's Curse just it's to its strongest point, then resets, then gets to another stronger point, and then resets again. What was it that Riven planned with this? How did Riven plan this? Or if Riven planned it at all? For all we know, it could have been. This also could have been the plan of Savathun's daughter, or just Savathun in general, because maybe she knew like the Ahamkara were behind some of the things that they've done, that happened to their family, that happened to Oryx, and
It's not home yet, but it will be.
because who knows what Savathun's been studying while Oryx has been doing all this stuff, or if she knew like something was wrong.
Looking for anything special?
Again, this is all interesting stuff that I'm just coming up with.
Well, Savathun is definitely connected, since that's her daughter in the
Home yet?
Shattered Throne, right? At the very end.
Yes.
Yes, and that's something that only comes up when the Taken are at their strongest in the Dreaming City, and that was only opened due to Riven's death.
Yep. Due to the curse getting to its strongest.
Alright. So the next bit, this is the last verse from the Book of Sorrows. It's verse 5-4, the Gift Mast. The Gift Mast. It towers above the star system like a monument to treason. It beams with silver light. It stings a radio lullaby made of soothing lies. In its light live the harmony, and they are now our prey. Now arrives Sivu Aerith at the heat of her armada. She fights the harmony for 50 years with strategies and discipline, but the harmony turned to dragon wishes, and their wishful bishops wrestle Sivu in the ascendant plane. Sivu falls into deadlock. Next arrives Savathun, flanked by her chorus and her celebrants. They trick their way into Anna Harmony and disguises so that they might vivisect these vivisect. I'm not sure if all of these are spelled correct, or I just don't know that word. Vivisect these dragons. The worm, our god, laughs and laughs. For 100 years, Savathun keeps secrets, covens among the harmony. But first of all was Oryx, whose brood grew in secret places in the rubble of eccentric accretion disk. The first navigator sends rocks and comets to crash into the harmony worlds so that where was I? So that the Harmony fleet will be disarrayed. He sends Cedars to infiltrate the Harmony worlds with his broods. Here at the center of the fifth book, the hive has grown so mighty that it has made the annihilation of all false life routine. Sivu Aerith kills the wishful bishops, and Savathun achieves some secret purpose, and Oryx's court tears down the gift mass. The Harmony people wail in terror, and they throw themselves into the silver lakes of Anna Harmony to drown. Come, saith Oryx, eat the gift mast, for I am a generous god. Of its pieces I claim only 2 out of every 5. The mast is full of light of the traveler. It is full of the marrow taste of sky. All who eat of it are filled with eccentric certainly that they serve a great and necessary purpose. Then saith Savathun, "Siblings, listen, we must part ways a while, so that we may grow different." She flies her war moons into the black hole, her throne becomes distant. Saith Sivu Aerith, "King Oryx, you take up too much space, your power constrains too many choices. I must go away from you." She flies her war moons away into the night, her throne is barred shut. Then Oryx was alone. He spent a while in thought, and those thoughts are recorded here.
Alright.
So, basically the only thing they're talking about there is that the Oryx and his family were, like, clinging to dragon wishes.
Interesting. Kinda like what the Guardians were doing.
Yeah.
In a way.
And we see what happened with Oryx as well. He became the king of the Taken.
Yes. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And it is interesting considering as Guardians we're told it was a worm god he prayed to and not an Ahamkara. Obviously that was probably to keep the truth of Ahamkaras from us and claim that it was worm gods, evil hive, who did it so that the Guardians wouldn't be in search of them, is what it seems like to me.
That would make sense. Basically, you like make Guardians not go search for any more Ahamkaras, because
So, because from this it seems the Oryx and the Hive knew what they were doing, knew it was a dragon and not a worm god.
right. But because it was giving them what they wanted, basically what they kind of like wanted it to do. They weren't doing anything about it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking from this.
Well, actually, the Vanguard would have done something to stop it if they actually knew it was an Ahamkara Oryx got his power from, so it's possible they also believed it was a worm god. And that also makes sense of, again, if Zol wasn't actually a worm god, but that's how we saw him, because as Guardians we weren't told of Ahamkaras, and we expected a giant hive-looking worm.
That's
So
true.
we saw what we wanted to see.
Which was a giant hive worm god. Because that's what we were expecting to find down there. We mentioned that it's what you desire, right? That you only see what you desire.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is. Sometimes it's only what you desire. There are a few bits of lore where they'll just appear as humans and kind of trick other people. So I don't think they always appear as what you desire, but they can read your mind. It seems that they're mind readers as well, because, I mean, how else would Savathun know about all the other voices that we would have recognized?
That's true.
Alright. Anything else to add onto what we've discussed so far?
I'm just gonna say, this is adding a lot of stuff toward like the whole Riven incident, the whole like thing of Aldrin, whole thing. That's probably more connecting the whole Ahamkaras to like, right, or like getting Savathun back into, or drawing Savathun to Earth.
Yeah, what I think is interesting is that, even though we're looking at the Ahamkaras, what we're mostly finding is stuff on the Hive or Taken.
That too.
So, definitely connections that we're kind of being pushed away from, but that are truly there.
Oh yeah, that's a definite.
I forgot.
Because these connections are being made. Obviously, you can tell these worm gods. They were with Oryx and his sisters, or her sisters, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It really makes you think. Alright,
I
what's the
still
next
want
little tidbit?
to, real quick, I'd like to say I still want to know how Oryx grew a penis.
Okay. I'm pretty sure we'll kind of figure that out once we get to the whole Book of Sorrows.
Well, yeah, that's gonna be with the full hive discussion, but
Oh yeah.
that is interesting how one of the high-ranking sisters became a man.
I don't know. It's a whole sword logic thing. Alright, anyways. Back to Ahamkara.
Last grimoire comes from the Rise of Iron.
Ooh.
Lord Gellion.
Oh, I know this
Gellion wears 3 knives. Their names are Swiftling, Occam, and Quietus. They did much of the work at Black Lona in silence and at speed. Between the roots of the ash tree that covers his den, Galleon has stacked the fallen bones collected from that one-night operation. The scavenged pieces of an Ahamkara, several jumbled coyote skeletons, and a fossil mastodon skull are mixed with them. The bones are scorched and battered from the various grenades, bullets, and hammers he's taken to them. He keeps extensive notes on these stress tests in a tattered notebook with field armor experiments scrawled on the cover. So far, though, he hasn't tried his knives on these materials. Between bones and the joints and gaps, certainly, but not on them. That was the first paragraph, but already it's speaking of Ahamkara, so anything to say on that?
How do we know the Iron Lords? The Iron Lords were here before we were, before they fell, before the whole Siva incident.
Yes.
So this was before,
And,
like...
correct me if I'm wrong, but was Lord Galleon the first Iron Lord?
I believe so. I might be wrong about that.
Alright.
I know
I
Galleon was
believe
quite
he
old.
is, but... So now what was that saying? Was that saying his knives are made of Ahamkara bones?
Possible.
Oh no, it says between the roots of the ash trees that covered his den, Gellion has stacked the fallen bones collected from the one-night operation, which included Ahamkara bones. So
Oh.
it seems where he was holed up, he was using Ahamkara bones to protect himself. Or to set up
That's
a
interesting.
small fortress around him.
That's interesting, because that makes you think, were they speaking to him?
Yeah, and it says he's used his knives to, or what did it say? The bones are... He hasn't tried his knives on the materials, but he's, like, felt around them with his knife. So it seems he has some interest in them, but doesn't quite know what they're there for.
What? Much like he wants to try to not mess with them. Which
Yeah,
probably
like-
is a good idea.
Probably, yeah. Then says, Skellion flips Swiftling and catches it by the haft. Okay, I imagine that's supposed to say by the shaft. Yeah, so some of
Okay.
these I noticed there are some spelling errors, but it's okay. He
I didn't
throws
know
it
that.
he throws it a single smooth motion and it shatters a fallen tibia. So his knife seems to be strong enough to So his knife seems to be strong enough to shatter what was it? Fallen tibia? Yeah. That was with Swiftling.
Interesting.
He flips Okam and throws it. The knife clatters off an Ahamkara vertebrae. He flips Quietus and Shanks and Pikes. Shanks and Pikes, Ephrodite. Oh, that's the last yip it's yipped, she says, picking up the coyote jaw that Quietus impaled. Helmet, would you say? Too brittle. Ether bones better. Flexus. The other follow her, wrinkling their noses. Usually they avoid his dim and earth-smelling den. Their presence suggests that Fellwinter is doing something unpleasant, probably involving screams. Alright, there's still more to this, but, real quick, we know that Ephrodite was in the same place around these Ahamkara bones as well.
Yes.
So was the Iron Lord, was there only 3 Iron Lords? I don't
No,
know
no,
much
no, no.
of them.
I
No?
believe, if I remember correctly, there's 8 or 9 in total.
Okay. So was
And
it that
that
Gellion, Ephrodite, and Saladin were one of the fire teams, or is...
I believe no. I don't even think. I think this was way before like Vanguard operations. I don't even really think fire teams really were much of a thing, but still existed.
Oh, I know
Let me
that,
clarify.
well, from this we know that Gellion and Ephrodite, at least, were there together.
Yes. That is very true. Wow.
Goes on to say, bone, Saladin says, not carbon bronze, not plasteel. Okay, so, I stopped at a bad time because apparently, so, Gillian, Saladin, and Ephrodite were all there together.
Yes. If I had to guess, this was probably before they probably found their Iron Temple, maybe when they found their Iron Temple.
They did speak of Fellwinter Peak a second ago.
Okay, so this is probably the Iron Temple.
Yeah. Or they said there was something planned there, I think, so it was possibly, while they were on their way to Fellwinter Peak.
Alright.
Their initial, way up there. I forget the word.
Ascension?
I guess. Yeah, if you want to call it that. It's another word I'm thinking of. I'm sure I'll think of it later.
Alright.
Exploration?
Alright.
Maybe?
That's right. That sounds right.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Bones, always available as a last resort. Nothing else is. This is doomsday thinking, Jolder says, kicking aside fragments of bones. We have your back. Our plate is strong. When will you need scavenged armor? Okay, so there's another Iron Lord, it seems, Jolder, who I don't know much about.
She's
Uh,
the
I...
she's the one female during the trailer who basically closes the door before Shax can get to not Shax, Saladin can get to her and get her out of there.
Oh, I
She's
thought
one of
that
the
was
ones that
Aphrodite.
no, because Jolder died during the whole Siegel crisis.
Oh, okay. Because I thought that was Aphrodite closing the door and that she actually survived in there. If you were cut down around me, your light drained past returned, and my armor was shredded, for
You still
instance,
survived me.
there is a long silence. You always know what to say to make us feel better, Aphrodite says. I could hide under your bodies until the threat left. Then I'd make a helmet from all your skulls, and a breastplate from your ribs, and gloves from your finger bones wrapped around mine. There is a longer silence.
Well then.
Okay, so there wasn't much on the Ahamkara, but Lord Galleon sure has a way.
He really enjoys his bones.
Definitely. So that's all the Grimoire entries. We'll talk about the lore entries in a moment.